Hello, I'm GVRP. I'm a student of Watson University. I have the pleasure of introducing you to Mr. Sushant Shankar, a machine learning and a data science expert and technology entrepreneur. Sushant has been a hands on executive and a co founder in several high profile Silicon Valley startups. These startups have applied data science and machine learning to multiple industries experience, like advertising tech, e-commerce, retail, energy, biological sciences, and most recently in healthcare. All these companies are profitable firms and have been acquired. The common approach that Sushant has honed across these startups has been to instrument activities in the real world or the World Wide Web into qualitative and quantitative data. On this data, apply data science and machine learning to provide the execute on unique business and industry specific insights. And adding this and differential capability to drive significant top line growth and profitability to global 1,000 companies. Sushant's current company's focus and contribution is the application of data science and machine learning to healthcare. Sushant holds a BS in electrical engineering and computer science from UC Berkeley and an MS from Stanford University in computer science with a specialization in computational biology. He lives with his family in San Francisco Bay Area. We welcome you, sir. So, what are the
Mhm.
basic challenges that you faced while coming into this sort of position, while building your career in technology?
I can think of two. I think one is a challenge, but also both are challenges, but also opportunities. I
Yeah.
think I think one of the most important things in undergraduate, but also graduate and going beyond is being able to find the right mentors
Yeah.
and at different times. I mean, they might not be the same person because I think good
Hmm.
mentors help you with the unknown unknowns, the things that you don't know that you don't know. I think the second one is um, uh, one of the challenges, and I think this is more kind of I'll call it day to day, is it's the same reason it's exciting. Technology is just changing so rapidly. It's very difficult to kind of keep your uh, have clarity on what you want to do, and there's a lot of new exciting things, right? There's a lot of, I'll call it, red shiny objects that are in the market and people are talking about versus what might be really exciting to you. And so knowing kind of where to focus and keep focused on, and being able to keep abreast of all these tools. So for example, if you're a data engineer or platform engineer, there's a lot of tools to work with data or stitch together a web system. And so what might be relevant 2 years ago, there's even better things out there this year, right? And
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
I don't think this is necessarily just a challenge. I think it's an opportunity because I think if you're able to keep up with it, and I think the core of it is being curious. I think there's this aspect of kind of having this mindset of an infinite learning, right? Like learning never
Yeah.
stops.
Yeah.
You need to keep learning in your career, and so I think if you have that mindset, you can kind of you know continue to be curious, right?
What are the basic fundamentals? I mean, what are the basic subjects that every student has to cover such that they can be very strong, that they never have to step
Mhm.
back and just look back and see like I shouldn't have done this. What are the
Yeah,
basic fundamentals that you think a student should possess?
I think there's the basic programming classes, which just teach
Mhm.
you how to program, right? How to write a function, how to write lines of code. And I think there's different schools of thought here. I don't think it matters too much what language it is. And then I'd say um, I would put operating systems or compilers as kind of one systems level kind of requirement, in the sense that if you want to go more into the systems route, or like distributed systems, for example, you
Yeah.
definitely need to take
Yeah.
those classes. And I think algorithms is an absolute must, where that in some sense is the core of critical thinking. Now I think it might get theoretical and might get uh, overly so, but I think it's still important, right?
What are the basic career advice that you want to give to the students you meet?
If I think about like what I would have maybe told myself like when I was an undergraduate, I think
Yeah.
um, I think it's to spend, you know, a significant amount of time. I mean, spend time to really think through, just like you would do for like selecting classes or like doing classwork. I mean, you know, uh, I don't want to call it planning because planning has a negative connotation, but um, but I'll call it like thinking through, like like what you want to do, what you like.
What it takes to be you.
Karl Marx said, "Life is struggle," and I think if you want to do something, uh, uh, you know, good and put a mark in the world, I think, and have something impactful to society, right? Whether it's like I think education. My first startup was actually in education.
Mhm.
Whatever it is, I think if you're wanting to do something um, positively beneficial to society, that means that you have to change something about society that you're not happy with, right? It could be in different ways, right? And so whether you're doing it in startups or doing it in a context of a company, it's there's you're changing something, you're improving something, you're adding something, and that is difficult, right? Because in the context of a startup, you're trying to do something where you're not only developing a product, but you're also responsible for getting it adopted, right? So if you're doing a business to consumer B2C company or business to business company, business to consumer company, you have to, while you might have something that's really novel and interesting, you have to get that adopted by
Yeah,
uh, consumers, right? As an engineer, data scientist by training and spending 3 years in industry there, I definitely was much stronger on the technology and product side.
definitely.
Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of challenges that of how to do this on your own, right? I mean, when I was doing this in working for companies, I didn't necessarily, um, you know, uh, even as a manager, I didn't necessarily have to think about, okay, this is how much I can afford to this person. Okay, it wasn't necessarily my money, or at least I didn't have that strong connection. And then in a startup, you realize you need committed people that believe in the vision and mission and kind of have that long view, because there are going to be challenges. How do you ready them for challenges that you don't know what the challenges are going to be?
Yeah, yeah,
And how do you at the same time take the time while you're busy trying to solve all these problems to still provide mentorship and provide guidance and provide um, opportunities for people here? Because I think as an employer, at least for me, I see it as a great responsibility, which is that people have trusted you with
definitely.
their
Mhm.
early part of their career, especially if you're coming out of an undergraduate.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so it's your responsibility to, whether it they're a good fit or not, at different times. I mean, you owe it to them to they've put your trust in you, and you owe it to them to be able to do that. I think that's why that learning attitude is so important. The critical thinking, right? Being able to manage the different challenges, right? As they come, as it happens.
yeah.
I don't necessarily personally, I'll call it, enjoy the mechanics of doing a startup, in the sense
Yeah,
of, like, there's things that you have to do just because I think that's what you need to do to achieve, the positive impact of society. And I wouldn't necessarily want to be doing this unless there was something really worthwhile, right? So, like, I was fortunate through that journey to find something really worthwhile to do, and that really was what keeps you going, right? Finding curiosity, like whether it's learning enough legal things, accounting, finance,
so yeah, yeah,
sales, marketing, whatever it is, like maintaining that curiosity, um, and knowing that there's going to be many challenges that are thrown at you. How do you overcome them, right? And you're not going to overcome everyone, but how do you overcome the important ones, and and still keep with your goal? So that mental challenge has definitely been the hardest part,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's definitely been rough. And there's definitely a couple years where, before we had our first customer, before we actually figured out a product that we thought would really sell to enterprises and healthcare companies. It takes patience. It takes time. It takes learning how to be disciplined. It takes grit. All these things I'm still learning and improving myself, but it takes those things to kind of keep those course. I think if you have an observation about something, right,
Yeah,
about how the world should work,
yeah,
um, there's probably a way to find a way to manifest itself, right? And so I think startups are absolutely great at at having that blank slate, right? Now you have to build up this house of cards initially, right, to do that. But if if you are convinced, and you should, you can build this over time, but if you have that observation and you want to see that change in the world, and you're able to commit 5, 10 more years to solving that challenge, then I think it really is a very rewarding experience to being able to see that change eventually.